Alright, in this video we are going to talk about how to bring in XY data, and in this case it's going to be data that we collected using the total station in the quad with Victor Rosgato from Hawaii Community College. How to bring that data into ArcMap, and ultimately how to turn that point data into an area calculation so we can answer the question, how big is that quad in square meters? So to do that, first let's take a look at the actual data files. So these are the data files from Victor. I'll be sending these to you guys. I'm just going to pick this one to start with so we can just take a look at it. So this is how the data comes, the raw data. So this is the point name, so point number 1, number 2, and then we have a description here at the end. This was the set nail, this is red 22, and then these were grass, and so on. And then we've got the, I believe from Victor, and I will provide this metadata for you guys. But if we take a look at this is a message from Victor. Hello Ryan, here are the point files for your class exercise this past Friday. The CSV format is the point, then the northing, and then the easting. Then we have elevation description. So it goes point, northing, easting. And that order will be important for how we bring the data in. So it goes northing, then easting. So we have the point, then the northing, and then the easting. And this is where our set nail or toll station. This is presumably the back site, and then these are the actual points around the perimeter that we collected. So let's bring this data into ArcMap. Alright, so I'm just gonna, here we are in ArcMap, and basically when I bring in XY data, the way that you do this is you go to File, Add Data, Add XY Data. And so we have to choose the file we're interested in, so we need to navigate to that. We could choose any of these guys. I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to say Add, and here's the place where I need to tell ArcMap what the associations for the different fields are. So field 1, if you recall, field 1 is the point name. Field 2, which is this one, is going to be the northing. Field 3 will be the easting. Okay. So if we look at this for the X, which is the easting, I want this to be field 3. And then for the Y, which is the northing, I want that to be field 2. We don't need to worry about the Z field in this particular case. You could enter it if you want to. I'm not going to. And then we need to put in a coordinate system here. Now, our data is not referenced. The way that we collected the data, we didn't bring in GPS values to have the data georeferenced in space. But when we were using it correctly, the data was in meters. And so I'm going to give it a coordinate system here. And I'm just by default going to pick UTM Zone 5 North. Now, the values that we had that we set for the data, for our total station occupied point 10,000, 10,000, that's not going to be in a UTM coordinate of 10,000, 10,000 in the real world, right? But I'm setting this as UTM because I want it to be in meters, because ultimately I want that calculation to be in meters. So just know that, the coordinates that we have are from a dummy coordinate system, and so they're not actually going to refer to real world coordinates, but they will be in meters. And so that's what I'm doing here. I want to make sure that ArcMap knows we're working in meters, so when we do our area calculation, we can end up in square meters, which is what we're trying to do. Okay, so I'm going to say OK, and then OK. And I'll just get this message here about no object. That's fine. Just say OK. And here are the data. So this is very exciting. If we want to do anything with this data, I would suggest converting it from what it is right now, which is just read in from this CSV file, sort of a text file. I think we should turn it into an actual shape file. And the way to do that, so we can actually do some processing and some things, so it will know that it's a geospatial data set and not just a table that it's read in, you do a right click on the name, you go to data, and then you go to export data. We want to export all the features, and you want to navigate to some place where you're working. And I'm going to call this red 22 data as a shapefile. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to say OK. And then I'm going to say yes. And now they're red because now we've got this one, right? Okay, so now this red 22 data, if I open the attribute table for this, it's the exact same data, but now it's in a good format, sort of a well-known ARC format. I'm going to highlight these first two rows here, and I'm going to move this away so you can see where these points are. These first two rows, let me move this guy over a little bit. These first two rows correspond to this point and this point. This point right here is where we set the total station up. This point right here is our backside. Okay, so if you can sort of visualize sort of a polygon around this area, sort of in context here, right? And so going around like this and then coming back. So these points, we don't want to necessarily include these points in our calculations for making the polygon to calculate the error, because these points are sort of sitting within the polygon of interest, right? And so what we want to do is we only want to really include, I'm going to highlight the rest of the points, these points, right? Because these points make up the actual outline of the polygon. Okay, and this is important, right? Because if we included these guys, these red ones here, it would make our polygon smaller and it would kind of screw it up a little bit. So what we actually want to do is we want to get rid of these points for our polygon calculations. And the way that we can do that is we can we should have a toolbar here, the editor toolbar. We want to start editing. I want to edit this data set that we've got here. We say, okay, I'm going to highlight these two guys, which correspond again to our total station setup and the backside, and I want to delete those guys. Fantastic. And now they've been deleted, and so we're well on our way to making this polygon. But one point that I'd like to make, and we're going to have to make one additional change to this, is that if we think about the sequence of points, I'm just going to sort of step through. So here was our first point, next point, right? So on, sort of just marching around, marching around, marching around, marching around, marching around, marching around, marching around. Basically, we need to close it off, right? If we drew a polygon or a line, the line would go to here and it would stop. We'd have a blank space down here, and that's no good. We actually want to sort of close it off. And so a trick to close it off is just to add a new point, which is right on top of our first point here. And then once we do it and we create our lines and so on, the polygon will be closed and we can actually calculate an area. So basically we're going to add a new dummy point on top of our first point, which will allow us when we create our line to make this thing totally closed off. And it's easy to do that under the I'm gonna sort of close this guy. Well, I'll just move it off screen. Under the editor, so if this guy's editing, I can try to make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing here. There is a button up here called Create Features. Let me move it a little bit. Called Create Features. So we're going to click on that guy. We're going to highlight this one, and we want to create a new point. Let me slide this back in place. We want to create a new point, and the new point we want to put is going to be right on top of our first point. I clicked it, and that new point, we've created a new row's worth of data. So we used to have this many points. We just added a brand new point. So now when I click on this guy and we sort of march around, going around, going around, going around, and then we get to here, and then our last one. So we start back where we end up where we started. And this is very important for the next phases, which are to turn this into a line and then to turn that line into a polygon.